The first female Prime Minister of Bangladesh who's died at the age of 80. What does this really mean for Bangladesh, the death of Khaleda Zia? Now, this could result in political instability and volatility as far as Bangladesh is concerned. However, there's room for more coalitions in the upcoming polls. Do remember that polls are expected in the country, in Bangladesh, on the 12th of February. Now, as far as the BNP leadership is concerned, there's going to be a direct shift towards her son. Do remember the son who had been in that self-imposed exile over the last 17 years has reached Dhaka. He reached Dhaka just 5 days ago, and now 5 days after his return to Dhaka after 17 long years, his mother at the age of 80 has died. Now this is an end when it comes to battle of the Begums, and that is the battling of the Begums era that has come to an end in Bangladesh. We're talking about the arch rivalry between Khaleda Zia and Sheikh Hasina. Back with us is, of course, Ankit Tyagi joining us from Bangladesh. We have Vishnu Som and Aditya Rajkol and Saurabh Gupta as well. When we talk about, the early years, and we had, Zia, in fact, Ankit, she entered politics. She was a housewife with no experience whatsoever in politics, but she had to enter politics after her husband was killed in that military coup. Aditya, soon she became one of the country's top leaders for her civilian political resistance against the then military regime. Does this pave the way for her son?
Well, it certainly does, but we have to remember the legacy of Begum Khaleda Zia, because when she became the chairperson of the BNP, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, it wasn't the Bangladesh of today. There was a democracy in a different form entirely, if at all we can call it a democracy at that particular juncture. And she had been serving as the chairperson since the mid-80s, and then becoming the prime minister in 1991, and then later again in 2001. So it's been an incredible political journey. Not just because he was a lone woman warrior in Bangladesh, the first prime minister, but there was a resounding message also for South Asia, because she was the second prime minister from any Muslim country in the world. That also had been an incredible achievement for her. Today, of course, Tariq Rahman, her son, has returned to Bangladesh after 17 years in exile. There were several corruption cases that were slapped both against Tariq Rahman and his mother, the chairperson of the BNP, Khaleda Zia. They had stiff opposition from Sheikh Hasina, and while Sheikh Hasina ruled over the last decade or more, there were several cases that were slapped against the BNP leadership, including the chairperson herself, as Vishnu explained earlier. So at this particular juncture, of course, Tariq Rahman returning means that there is a new lease of life that the BNP has got after the exile of Sheikh Hasina. And BNP is now going to play a very, very critical role in the forthcoming elections that will happen in the mid of Feb, in less than 2 months from now. So at this particular time, it is, of course, a big moment in the history of Bangladesh. As you rightly pointed out, Divya, Khaleda Zia will pass away. She, of course, did not have the best of relations with New Delhi, but she did visit India during the time of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, tried to build some kind of cordial relationship, some kind of strategic partnership. But now we'll have to wait and watch how, if Tariq Rahman becomes the new leader of Bangladesh after elections, democratic elections, how that will pave the path forward for the diplomatic ties between New Delhi and Dhaka. This also comes at a time, Divya, when Yunus government has been under stiff criticism from all sides, not just the Inqilab Manch in Dhaka, but from India and several other countries as well, for the terrible human rights records that have happened, not just against the minorities, but against the Awami League as well. So at this particular juncture, it's very critical how the BNP takes the way forward. Of course, it will be a sympathetic way for the BNP and Tariq Rahman. And one final point, which is a WikiLeaks that had come out about 15 to 17 years back, which said that Yunus had met US diplomats and said that he has a willingness or an aim to become the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, but for that, these two women need to be moved out of Bangladesh. He was referring to Khaleda Zia and Sheikh Hasina. Today is that particular moment that Sheikh Hasina is in New Delhi, Khaleda Zia is no more. The challenge is on Yunus. Will he be able to navigate Bangladesh into a new democracy, or will this continue into a new chaos?
Absolutely. We also have Saurabh with us. Saurabh, of course, Aditya was pointing out at that complicated relationship between New Delhi and Dhaka. Take us through, the strong differences that she had with India and how complicated the relationship really was.
Well, yes, it was complicated, and there were several issues, especially what Vishnu was mentioning. About in the Northeast, there were issues where people who were carrying out anti-India activities, taking refuge in Bangladesh. All of those issues were there, but there was also an attempt at dialogue. There was also an attempt to build, like Aditya was mentioning, a strategic partnership. There were differences, no doubt, and she was skeptical, like. We've been reporting about India's influence on Bangladesh, but nevertheless, she accepted it and she tried to build something within the boundaries that she had set in terms of the relationship. So it wasn't a relationship where there was absolute distrust or absolute non-engagement, but there was certain issues of that Begum Khaleda Zia was, for, and that were a cause of concern for India. Having said that, yes, there was a visit, and during that visit, she met at that point, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, also leader of opposition at that time, Sushma Swaraj, and there was dialogue, and there was an attempt to improve the bilateral relationship. So that is, of course, there. But the larger part of her legacy is about her commitment to democracy in Bangladesh. She fought against military rule at great personal risk. She came into politics when her husband, President Ziaur Rahman, was assassinated. And therefore, even at great personal loss and great personal risk, she continued the fight for democracy in Bangladesh. Yes, she may have tied up with the Islamic parties that are now considered rivals of the BNP in the current electoral context, but her legacy is one that's much more and will be missed by many, and she will be remembered for that.